Nearly every moment of Into the Spiderverse is densely packed with Easter eggs and in-jokes. It's a non-stop love letter to Spider-Man's lore, New York City, and pop culture. I'm Winnie Van Lanningham, and these are over 100 Easter eggs in Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Okay people, there are gonna be huge, mega huge spoilers in this video. Like, Kingpin's waistline huge. If you don't want me to ruin one of the best movies of the year, turn this off, walk away, and go see Spidey before you watch this. Spoilers here, spoilers there, spoilers in this vid are everywhere. Okay, did I warn you enough? You've either seen the movie or you just don't care? Cool, on to the spoilers! In a tongue-in-cheek jab at the fact that we've seen Spider-Man rebooted 4 times for the box office in the last 18 years, Into the Spiderverse opens up with Peter Parker recapping us once again on his origin story. The film goes back to variations of this recap several times, making this in and of itself a meta Easter egg. A good majority of these recap montages reference iconic Spider-Man movie moments, including Spider-Man stopping the train in Raimi's Spider-Man 2, a variation of the scene from Spider-Man 2 where Doc Ock throws a car at Pete and MJ on a date, and the Spidey kiss with Mary Jane from the first Spider-Man. This kiss is also inverted in one recap, playing with the concept of multiple universes that we'll see repeatedly throughout these Easter eggs. Another scene is reminiscent of Homecoming's ferry scene, with Spidey straining himself like a messiah as he saves 2 buses. The recaps also include the cover of the Amazing Spider-Man number 186, a nod to the Spider-Man cereal from the 90s, and everyone's favorite summertime snack, the Spider-Man Popsicle! After Spidey's intro, we transition over into Miles Morales' room, where we can find pictures of Superman and Batman. Producers Christopher Miller and Phil Lord have worked with these DC comic characters previously on the Lego Movie and Lego Batman, which explains why Bats is so darn blocky. Miles also has a sketch of Leah Pardon, Spider-Man's mecha from his Japanese TV series from the 70s. On Miles' way to school, he passes a flirty girl with pink hair from his old school. This is likely Katie Bishop, who sports pink hair and briefly dates Miles in the Earth 1610 universe. Main series Marvel comic fans might know Kate Bishop as the second Hawkeye and Young Avenger from the 616 universe. When Miles gets pulled over by his father, you'll notice that his license plate reads RFD960, the same license plate that the detectives in Law & Order use. Also in this universe, the NYPD is the PDNY. On Miles' bag, there's a pin that reads Eco. While this might simply be a sign that Miles is environmentally conscious, it could also be a reference to the Eco Corporation, that corrupt anti-pollution subsidiary of the Alchemax Corporation. Considering that an Eco building is seen later in the movie, this might not be so far-fetched. Alchemax is featured heavily in Into the Spiderverse, and like Hammer Industries or AIM, it's another one of Marvel's evil scientific R&D megacorporations. Alchemax most notably appears in the Spider-Man 2099 series, the high-tech Spider-Man spin-off set in the future that has a massive cult following from the 90s. The Spider-Man of that time, Miguel O'Hara, appears in the post-credits scene with his holographic personal assistant, Lila. Yeah, I'll just let that hype set in for a second. And next. When Miles arrives late to one of his classes, he interrupts an Alchemax documentary with his corny Einstein relativity humor. If you're solely paying attention to Miles and Gwen in this scene, you might miss the foreshadowing that the hippie scientist lady is actually Doc Ock. Her full name is obscured, but you'll be able to see the name Olivia O on the screen behind Miles. This isn't the first iteration Marvel has had of a Lady Octavius. In the 2016 comic Web Warriors, a handful of Dr. Octopuses from the multiverse team up to form the Doctor's Octopi, including one Octavia Otto. Aside from her name being visible, Olivia Octavius also makes an offhand comment about potentially being the type of person to wear leather pants in an alternate dimension. This once again is a reference to Raimi's Spider-Man 2, where Doc Ock dons an all-leather costume. If you didn't know that Miles' Uncle Aaron is the Prowler from the comics, a keen observer might pick up on the clues to his reveal inside his apartment. Above his couch is a painting of a panther, and Aaron himself wears a t-shirt with a graphic of another large cat. According to director Bob Persichetti, there are some very personal Easter eggs hidden in the scene where Miles is throwing up his No Expectations graffiti piece. Persichetti tagged the wall with the names of his children. Duh! He's like me and Puggy, but with actual human children! This scene also features an Alchemax spider with the number 42. Not only is this a reference to the answer to life, universe, and everything from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but Spider 42 is the Osborn experiment that bit Miles in the comic, as well as his lottery number that got him into the Brooklyn Visions Academy. Like the comics, the number 42 is hidden throughout the rest of the movie, including the scene where Miles crashes into a taxi below him. When Miles starts to develop his spider powers, he has a little run-in with campus security. Inside the security office, Spider Bells off of Spidey's Christmas album plays. As we all know, Spider-Man isn't the first hero to have a Jingle Bells parody. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg is a classic childhood cheer that dates back to the 60s. Spider-Man's holiday album also includes the tracks Spidey, It's Cold Outside, Swinging Around the Mistletoe, Silent Night, You're Welcome, Joy to the World, That I Just Saved, Spidey the Snowman, It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like a Non-Denominational Holiday, and straight up Ave Maria. When Miles Wall stumbles back to his room, he picks up a SpiderMan comic that eerily mirrors his experience. While the panels aren't a direct rip from the comics, the art style is lifted straight out of Spider-Man's first appearance in Amazing Fantasy number 15. The Spider-Man comic belongs to Miles' roommate Genki Lee, his best friend from the comics and the inspiration for Homecoming's Ned Leeds. Genki's collection also includes a comic titled Imagine That There Was More Than One Spider-Man. Not only is this the premise for the Spiderverse, but it's a play off of the What If series of one-off comics that Marvel publishes, which reimagines their heroes with different origins or life choices. Miles and Genki's dorm room also has a Chance the Rapper coloring book poster and what appears to be a Knicks poster of number 30 Bernard King. When Miles ends up in the Alchemax particle collider, we see Spider-Man fighting a monstrous version of the Green Goblin. Why isn't the Goblin a crazed businessman throwing pumpkin bombs in this universe? Well, it's because instead of going straight up psycho, Osborn's attempt at a super serum turns him into a literal goblin demon in the Ultimate Universe. I believe this is the first depiction of him with wings, however, and I kinda dig him. When Kingpin Wilson Fisk fires up his collider, the stream of energy bears a striking resemblance to the Kirby Crackle, an artistic depiction of energy blasts made famous by the Marvel illustrator Jack Kirby. On Fisk's computer monitor, you'll be able to see the dimension numbers of all the realities featured in the movie, including 616, the mainline comic continuity, meaning that Into the Spider-Verse potentially ties into the actual comics universe, seeing as none of the Spider-Men appear to be 616 Peter Parker. Inside the collider's blast, you can see the web of life and destiny, the realm that ties each dimension in the multiverse together. This web of realities plays a prominent role in the Spider-Man mythos and is used by various Spider-Men to travel between realities, as well as being the mystical source for their powers and Spidey senses. Once Fisk begins to merge dimensions, we start to get a taste of the hordes of alternate reality Easter eggs hidden in the film. CNN is NNC, Coca-Cola is Coca-Soda, UPS becomes USB, and FedEx becomes RedX. No relation to the Teen Titans villain. For some reason, Mr. Potato Head is Mr. Tomato Head. Planet Hollywood becomes Planet Inglewood, Snapchat becomes Pickaboo, and Intel is Pinto. Both Google and Starbucks in this universe use their original business names Backrub and Il Giornale. In what's probably sacrilege to sports people, the New York Yankees become the New York Red Sox. Also, in this universe, basketball star Blake Griffin is the pitcher for the New York Sox. Oh, and Steph Curry is the golden boy of golf. On the subject of sports, EA Sports' hottest game is water polo. There's a shout out to the Taiwanese restaurant Bauhaus, and a few fictitious banks including Bank Pink, and my favorite, Trust Us Bank. Yup, I'm sure those bankers aren't up to anything shady in there. Tencent QQ, the wildly popular Chinese instant messaging service, also appears to have a foothold on the Western market in this universe, as billboards of their penguin mascot can be seen throughout the city. Also, if you Google Tencent Penguin Spider-Man, you'll find a flash video of the mascot as Spider-Man on the internet. It has barely any views, so who knows if Into the Spider-Verse's team was actually referencing this, but I wouldn't put such an obscure Easter egg past them. A quick eye will also pick up billboards for several movies and shows, including Clone College, the sequel to Lord & Miller's animated series Clone High. There's an alternate Bridesmaids movie called Baby Shower, there's a bus ad for something called Custer in Purgatory, likely a reference to the comic series Preacher, where the hero Reverend Custer battles demons. Another bus advertises The Spoiler, which is likely just a generic joke like this cab that says I hate the sun. Both of those are exactly the kind of jokes animators would make. There's a Simon Pegg parody of From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Shawn. But by far the best wacky movie poster is for Hold Your Horses starring Seth Rogen as a jockey. According to director Rodney Rothman, Hold Your Horses was initially going to be another project that Rogen said the Spider-Verse could use as a joke. But then he called back saying, hold your horses on that wacky joke movie, I might actually want to make it. And thus, Hold Your Horses was born! In the performance department, a handful of Broadway shows get reimagined. The Blue Man Group is the Red Man Group, Jersey Boys becomes Noisy Boys, Oh Hello, starring Spider-Ham's voice actor John Mulaney and Nick Kroll becomes Hi Hello, and Kinky Boots is Kitty Boots. There's a moon landing musical called One Small Step, which maybe you musical theater nerds can tell me what that's supposed to be, because all I know is that it won a Toonie. Times Square also advertises The Weeknd's single Kissland, and Nicki Minaj's Pink Print album becomes The Black Print. Writer Marlon James also gets a name drop on a taxicab promoting another novel called The Babylon Bloodcloth, which the reviewers of Miles' universe are calling a book full of good stuff. After Peter dies, we get our Stan Lee cameo, who tells Miles that he's gonna miss Spider-Man, which sucks us all right in the feels. Dang it, Stan, we're gonna miss you more! This isn't Lee's only cameo in the movie, as the directors have said that he's peppered into the background of the movie like a Where's Waldo. He can be seen walking his dog past Miles and Peter when they crash on the sidewalk after they first meet, and can also be found riding the subway in several shots. The cool thing about these multiple cameos is that they're all just the same character going about his day in NYC. Speaking of creator cameos, if you check out the phone contacts of Miles and his father, you'll find the names Brian Bendis, Sarah Pacelli, and Joe Quesada. Writer Bendis and artist Pacelli created Miles Morales in 2011. Joe Quesada, on the other hand, is the current chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment. In the phone contacts, you can also find Ray Sean, which is likely Ray Sean Lucas, another Brooklyn-based Marvel character that takes up the mantle of the Patriot. Aerosmith guitarist and composer of the 90s Spider-Man theme, Joe Perry, also gets a name drop on a building that reads Perry Joe. The creators of Spider-Gwen also get named on the cover of her origin comic. That's writer Jason Latour, penciler Robbie Rodriguez, and colorist Rico Renzi. While each Spider-Verse character embraces their own art style, Spider-Gwen and her world highly draws from Rodriguez's and Renzi's style, making it feel like her comic really comes to life. When Miles, Peter, and Gwen go to Aunt May, they find out she's keeping a spider cave underneath her queen's home. While it's a bit striking to see Aunt May playing the role of Alfred, Sony was once rumored to be developing an Aunt May movie that would retcon her up as a super spy before she settled down with Uncle Ben. It's possible that that backstory found its way into this version of Aunt May. As they enter the spider cave, we get to see the Spider-Mobile and Spider-Cycle. The Spider-Mobile debuted in The Amazing Spider-Man number 130 after an advertising firm convinced Spidey to help advertise their client's car. With the help of Johnny Storm, Peter eventually tricked out his little spider buggy into a proper superheroic vehicle. The Spider-Cycle, on the other hand, is a newer addition that Peter started using to reduce wear and tear on his body from swinging and to preserve his webbing. Inside the spider cave, there's also several suits on display. Aside from his classic suit, you'll see Spider-Man's stealth suit, his Mark 1 and 2 armor, his blue Secret Wars suit, his pitch black Dusk suit, his advanced suit from his newest PS4 game, his insulated electroproof suit, what looks like a variation on his Iron Spider suit, and a caped suit. While the cape suit exists mostly so Parker can make an Incredibles no capes joke, Spider-Man did don a cape in his Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon and in a What If comic, although neither look like the cape featured in the movie. But while we're talking costumes, Peter Parker's sweatpants design reminds me of a slobbier take on Indian Spider-Man's costume. Also, I'm not sure if this is a continuity error or if Peter is so fat he can't wear a suit properly, but Pete is totally sucked into Miles' universe with his leggings on. Not sure why he actively chooses to look like he ran out of antidepressants while on the job, but you do you, bud. Next, we're introduced to SpiderMan Noir, Penny Parker, her Spider-Mech, and Spider-Ham. Surprisingly, there aren't many Easter eggs when these three are introduced. Their comic book covers are all new as the trio features updated designs, but their origins are lifted straight out of their respective comics, including Spider-Ham being a spider bitten by a radioactive pig. In Spider-Ham's universe, Coca-Cola is Porca-Cola, and Penny's mech has a sticker of Doge and Flash is the Deal With It sunglasses. But yeah, this section is surprisingly light on true Easter eggs. Let's fast forward to the climax where the particle collider is running at full power. Trust me, we're not skipping anything of interest outside of a few generic restaurant signs like this one that reads Best Burger. As the realities start to cave in on one another, some freaky things start to happen. At one point, Gwen uses a giant mixtape as a projectile, and at another point, a massive PlayStation 4 controller floats in the background. Penny's Spider-Mech gets destroyed, and while she's bummed out, it's not the end of the world, because like in the comics, her psychic bond is with the spider that pilots the mech and not the mech itself. Before Spider-Ham returns to his universe, he utters the line, "That's all, folks," famously known as the catchphrase of another animated pig, Porky. Pete then makes a meta joke, wondering if Spider-Ham, and by extension Into the Spiderverse, can legally say that. After Miles saves the day, he calls his father to let him know that he's okay. Miles hangs up, but Officer Davis believes his cell phone service is to blame and curses Z-Mobile, a not-so-subtle dig at T-Mobile. In the post-credit scene, Spider-Man 2099 and his holographic assistant Lila create a dimensional travel watch, the same device the spider heroes use to hop around dimensions in the comics. Miguel uses the device and ends up in the reality of the 1967 Spider-Man cartoon. In the past few years, this cartoon has been used for a series of memes, and the post-credits scene plays into this by having Miguel argue with Parker a la the classic episode Double Identity, where Spidey faces off with an imposter. Another meme from this series is referenced in the actual credits, where Spider-Man sits behind a desk with a picture of himself hanging on the wall. Well, there you have it! Every Easter egg I could find in Into the Spider-Verse. But with a movie like this, there's bound to be dozens of Easter eggs that I've missed. Let me know what you caught, and we can start a running list of any additional eggs in the comments below. Also, you've gotta let me know where this movie stacks up next to the other Spider-Man movies. Personally, I think it might be the best. Click to the left of my face for more videos, and until next time, later webheads.